ARN volunteers, thank you so much for speaking with the student, whether it's at an interview or a college fair or one of our previews or admitted student parties. Often we only have a really short amount of time to explain to somebody what Oberlin's about. So when this happens, I start with a focus on the history and Oberlin's arts and academics combination, but I also like to talk about the sciences and the environmental happenings here on campus. So as far as sciences go, all of our faculty are active researchers. They have their own labs. They work with students in the labs. They don't employ students as peons or lackeys or gophers. We have students who work side by side with the faculty on really interesting research. Often this leads to publications in journals or talks at national conferences. We've also found that for students who are interested in going to graduate school in the sciences, they tend to be a semester or maybe even a year ahead of their peers because of the research opportunities they've had here and because of the equipment they've worked with. Sustainably, there is a tremendous amount happening here. We were one of the first schools to sign a pledge to be carbon neutral, and we do anticipate being carbon neutral by 2025. The college is working with the town on how the entire community can be carbon neutral as well. We're using natural gas instead of coal to heat. We're also doing a tremendous amount in terms of local organic food here on campus. That plan was actually driven by students, not by the administration. Lastly, we have a sustainability-themed residence hall. We have the environmental studies building that is solar powered. The Cole building is a green building. The new Oberlin Inn is going to be a LEED Platinum certified building. And something that I find incredibly exciting, approximately 10 to 15% of our annual electricity is coming from solar power these days. So there's a lot happening in both these fields. I hope that this part of the video is helpful and that the rest of the video that you see now is useful as well. Enjoy.
So because our college fair is an off-campus event in which you're talking about Oberlin, it's important to contextualize where Oberlin is and what happens there. And so I often find myself telling students at college fairs about where we're located, how we're about 30 miles southwest from Cleveland in a small town, but the campus has about 3,000 undergraduate students between two divisions, the College of Arts and Sciences and the Conservatory of Music. And so because of the conservatory's presence, we have 500 concerts a year on campus. I then talk about all the other things that do happen on campus because, depending on where you are, if a student doesn't know where Oberlin is, they might be worried that it's, there's when they find out that it's a small school. So I talk about our excos, I talk about OSCA, I talk about theater and dance and all the other student clubs and organizations that happen, and really sell the social atmosphere first before I talk specifically about their interests academically.
What distinguishes Oberlin is this fusion of the arts and academics. Now, we have students that obviously are very intellectually motivated, and they are here for the rigorous academics. But we're combined with this world-class music conservatory. And so we tend to attract those students that want a rigorous academic setting, but still want to have music be a part of their lives. With this fusion, we think about the conservatory. We're a place that offers over 500 plus concerts and recitals each academic year. We put on average anywhere, it could be upwards to 40 to 50 different theater and dance productions, 3 major operas a year, as well as the visual side is access to one of the best college art museums in the country. And so where we have our art rental program where students can rent artworks for $5 and place them in their dorm rooms. We have so much artwork in our art museum, it'd actually take about 30 years to cycle through its current rotation. And so with a place that, yes, we're close to Cleveland and you can be there in 45 minutes, but 90% of our students stay in town over the weekends because it is a vibrant performance community where students are able to take advantage of the conservatory as well as the college.
I like to describe Oberlin students as being greedy, but greedy with a positive connotation. These are students who don't want to compromise. They don't want to ignore any of their interests or say goodbye to any of their interests. They come to college because they want to explore them all. They want to have the chance to investigate, to do research, to do internships, to create opportunities for themselves as well. Winter term is fantastic for that. These students are going to go out and create new opportunities for themselves, inspire the next generation of OBs as well, and then take that back into the classroom with them. These are students who are really invested in the collaborative learning environment. So they're not here to compete with each other. If they are competitive, they're going to be competing with themselves. But otherwise, they're really here to learn from each other, to support one another. I also like to think about audiences on this campus. We talk about the music here, the fact that we have a conservatory, that so many of our students are musically inclined in some way or another. But these are also students who show up to support each other at the various different musical venues, not just at Finney Chapel. And we talk about that a lot, but not just there, not just at Stull, not just in the big music halls, but they show up to Slow Train, they show up to the Cat and the Cream. They're there for each other and coming out in droves. This is not a place where when you put together a musical ensemble and maybe it's your first performance, you show up and your roommate is there. This is a campus where there are going to be students, there are going to be community members. So thinking about sharing their passions and sharing their interests, this is definitely a place where those are encouraged to grow and where students are encouraged to find different avenues and different ways of exploring those with a really supportive community.
Hi alumni! So when I'm at a college fair and I'm talking to a prospective student or a family, I will usually start out by asking how much they know about Oberlin or if they've ever heard about Oberlin before. And then depending on the way that they answer, I can either talk to them about their specific interest. If they say they know a lot about Oberlin, I ask them what they know and then we can kind of go from there and talk about their specific interests. Or if they say they don't know much about Oberlin and they had never heard of us before, then I usually give them a brief overview. And I'll talk about our history. I'll say, well, you know, Oberlin is actually a really famous college and we might have been in your history textbook because we were the first college to have an admissions policy that said we're going to admit students regardless of their racial background back in 1835. And we were the first college to be co-ed back in 1837. So I'll usually lead with that. I'll also talk about the music conservatory because I think that piece is really unique, and I'll talk about how we have this great music conservatory on our same campus as our College of Arts and Sciences.